So I'd like to welcome to the stage Mark Howe, Managing Director of Agencies for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Mark, pleasure.
Thanks so much.
You need this? There you go.
Lovely. Now I'm going to break with tradition a little bit and use the lectern just so I stay on time, because I know whenever I wander around, I'll overrun by hours and you all want to get home. So thank you to start with for staying around in Milan so late. Been a beautiful day outside, and you're in here with me, so thank you very much. Over the last couple of days, we've heard a lot about the state of our industry, and very differing opinions, and that's because we're a very competitive industry. In fact, over the last year or so, we've also had digital in the headlines, in media headlines, probably for the wrong reasons too many times. So over the next 30 minutes, I want to address the issue that should be close to all our hearts, which is advertising that works for everyone. And let's face it, almost everything that we do every day of our lives online is funded by advertising. Yes, there is some subscription money out there, there is some paid for content money out there, but the open, largely free web is, to all intents and purposes, funded by advertising. It depends on advertising, and I believe it will do so for the foreseeable future. But I think we need to do a better job of it. And at Google, we feel very passionate about that. So today, I'd like to recommit to something that Matt Britton introduced a year ago on this stage, and that's this notion that to ensure advertising works for everyone, and share what we've been up to try and get to that point with you also this afternoon. First and foremost, it has to work for users, for people. But of course, it also has to work for publishers, content owners, advertisers, and agencies. Whoever you are, whichever you are of those, advertising must be transparent, advertising must be trustworthy, and advertising must be valuable. We've made progress as a company in the last year, largely by listening to our customers, listening to our users. But we know there's still a lot more to do. And as we've heard across the last couple of days, and we hear in the whole industry, people's trust in advertising is at an all-time low. They feel annoyed by ads at best, or misled at worst. Publishers are struggling to sustain high-quality content and balance that with a viable revenue model. And advertisers are increasingly mistrusting of an ecosystem that is complex, opaque, and at times unsafe for their brands. We've heard that earlier today. It's what Edelman calls a crisis of trust, a battle for the truth. In fact, we're seeing government, media, businesses are trusting less everything, and people worry about what's true and what's fake. Even in the UK now, advertising is trusted, I think, less than banks. That's outrageous. And Keith Weed of Unilever made a point in one of the many speeches he made at the IAB in the US earlier this year. He put it another way. He said that a brand without trust is just a product. And I'm paraphrasing him here. But a brand without trust is just a product. And what we know is that products are easily replaced. So we recognize at Google that we have a big responsibility here. People turn to us to search and research the truth. And few probably have as large a stake in the healthy ads ecosystem and a sustainable ads ecosystem as we do. So we work incredibly hard to make sure that we keep it viable and alive and rich. But it isn't easy, and it's a challenge we can't solve alone. So first, let me summarize some of the trends and challenges that we see together that we face as an industry. Everything starts with people. Everything starts with you. Everything starts with users. Larry and Sergey founded Google on the principle and on the mantra that focus on your user and everything else will follow. And that still holds true today in everything we aspire to do. I mean, Google was born of the open web, and search is ultimately still at the heart of our business. We connect users with content, with entertainment, with commerce, with advice. And if you can't spell or you can't type, you can talk to us. And we can aim to get you to the right result within a fraction of a second. 10 billion times a month, people ask Google about news stories. 10 billion times a month, we send them to one of 80,000 news sources. Real publishers who they say they are, and all part of Google News. And that's been running now for 16 years, and it's just had a facelift if you want to go and check out what the new Google News looks like. And today, through AdSense, through YouTube, through Google Play, we make money for those publishers that we send users to. When we serve an ad on any of these services, it's the publishers, it's the creators, it's the developers who earn the majority of the revenue. Let's be clear about that. It's the majority of those that earn the revenue and earn the majority of the revenue. Last year, in fact, we paid out $13 billion to publishing partners, and that was up 15% on the last year. And it's in our interest, therefore, for quality content to remain alive and kicking on the web and in the digital world. And we recently announced the Google News Initiative, again just this year, to elevate the quality journalism and help build a stronger future for news businesses. Advertising at its best and is it most effective is when we put people first. And one reason that search advertising works so well and has been successful is its focus on relevance and usefulness. People pay attention, people click on an ad because they're interested in what they're clicking on, and they find the ads useful and valuable. Last year, we received over 5 billion pieces of feedback. Now, you've seen many a research article over the last couple of days. I don't think that many have had 5 billion sample size. 5 billion pieces of feedback about our ads on our display network from real people via our feature called Mute This Ad. Irrelevance is the most common concern. Irrelevance. People want ads that are relevant, useful, and harmonious. Not spammy ads that sing and dance and block and annoy, or intrusive, or even abusive, or the spooky ones that follow you around, I'm talking about those slippers, follow you around the web and catch you wherever you are. And that's why all parties here have to get on board with what I'm going to try and talk about. Hundreds of millions of people have downloaded ad blockers. And that's neither good for anyone. It's not good for advertisers, it's not good for publishers, and it's ultimately not good for anyone who wants to enjoy an open, overwhelmingly free web. We all have to put the interests of our users first. And from an advertiser's point of view, we hear you want transparency, and you need transparency. Of course you do. You need measurement, safety, fraud prevention. We hear criticism about programmatic advertising. It's not transparent. There's too many intermediaries. It's confusing. It's fragmented. And we tend to agree with that. We've got to tidy it up. We hear the calls for more independent measurement and verification. And we hear the calls for more common standards to plan, buy, and measure media. So let me be clear again. By listening to our partners, by listening to you, we will address these challenges over the coming years and coming months to make advertising that works better for advertisers as well as our users. And last but not least, our publishers. How we ensure quality content finds an audience and finds that audience amongst this explosion of content and stop bad actors abusing technology is a real priority of ours. It has to be. Today, anyone can be a publisher, a content creator, an app developer. You just need a smartphone and an idea. And that's the real freedom of speech. But a single Macedonian town that can create 140 scammy websites about US politics is breaking down the trust that free speech can be generated. Separating out the good from the grey and the ugly and the illegal isn't always simple, because bad actors find new audiences for extreme views wherever we go. We've seen that and heard that talked about over the last couple of days. When quality content can't earn more than spam, that's a real problem for us as an industry. Advertisers clearly want to reach relevant and targeted real audiences and not be engaged in unsuitable content. We're dealing with this. So we need to address making advertising better for our users, ensuring the future of quality content, and making digital advertising better for publishers and content owners. And we can only address these issues with partnership. Over the last year, we have been listening. You've told us what's broken and that we haven't got it right, and at times we've fallen short of what you expect of us. And in some areas, we've made things way too complicated. We know that. I've been working at Google 12 years, and my God, I find it complicated understanding what we're doing, and I work there. How anybody in the world outside can navigate us, I acknowledge that's a real problem. And as we reflect over this last year, 3 things were clear. First, we need to do a better job of including our stakeholders in the conversation. Second, we need to act faster and more aggressively in dealing with some of these issues I've outlined. And third, we need to do a better job of communicating what we're doing and our commitment and our progress and how we're doing that. And that's what I want to do in the next few minutes. Let me share some of the progress we have made. Start with what works for people, what works for our users. When you're online, you want to know your data is secure, that you have a transparent view of how it's used, and that you are in control. Well, with Google, uniquely, with one switch, you can opt out of ads personalization across all devices. That's a key feature of Google's My Account. And in fact, tens of millions of European consumers have completed our privacy checkup already. And what we see is that when faced with a transparency and control opportunity, consumers generally want ads that work for them. We show people how ads are selected for them via why this ad, and while mute this ad. I know it's a lot of ads there, there's a lot of noise there, but why this ad, and then while mute this ad allows consumers to opt out of an ad experience they don't like. So you can see what you're being targeted with, and you can either opt in or you can opt out. We recently announced that mute this ad now works across all our devices. So if you mute something on your phone or your laptop, well then it'll be muted also on the laptop or the phone. And this doesn't just apply to Google Display Network, it also works across our DoubleClick platform, so consumers have more control on everything and sites they see. And of course, the GDPR word, we've all been hearing about it for 2 days and probably 2 years. We're working hard to prepare for the GDPR across all the services that we provide in Europe today and the future services that we will launch in the future. We announced our commitment last August, and we are committed to working with our partners to make this transition as smooth as possible. And I know it's not smooth. And we're working with the IAB Europe and IAB Tech Lab to be able to use the framework. So hopefully that's going to be a positive. Because what we know is important is that people are able to trust ads. We continue to work to keep bad ads off the internet. How are we doing that? Well, I'm talking about the ads that send you to malware-infected sites, trick-to-click ads, ads that trick you into installing software. They also include deceptive and fraudulent ads, get-rich-quick schemes, payday loans, and other predatory ads. I mean, there's a lot out there, so much so that last year we removed 3.2 billion bad ads, nearly 5 times more than 2 years ago. That's more than 100 bad ads a second that we're stopping consumers receiving. Think about that for a minute. 100 bad ads a second we're already stopping consumers seeing. It's no wonder that ad blocking and trust is a challenge with that volume of bad ads are out in the marketplace. Year over year, we're getting better at using a combination of improved policies and technology. We've heard about AI today, but AI is the heart of this to better protect consumers and ultimately hit them at the source. But it's not just about bad ads. It's also about annoying ones. And that's where I think our industry has probably let itself down over the last 10 years. Ads should offer value and be useful to consumers, not disrupt the experience. The Coalition for Better Ads is an excellent start on the industry working together to improve the consumer experience. Google, along with 40 agencies, publishers, advertisers, ad tech companies, industry bodies like the IAB, join forces to better understand consumers' perception of digital ads. And in fact, the Coalition for Better Ads, the initial research spanned 40,000 consumers in Europe and North America to identify the most annoying ad formats on desktop and mobile web. Not surprisingly, they were pretty clear that full-page pop-ups, videos that turn on with sound, automatically running, and ads that make it impossible to click away are the most intrusive. And the results of this study led us to the Better Ad Standard, which I think is a brilliant standard and a brilliant opportunity for everyone to get behind as a guideline for the industry. So given that we feel that Better Ad Standard is the right direction of travel, earlier this year we took an important step in supporting the Coalition's voluntary Better Ads experience program by Google's Chrome browser filtering ads from sites that continue to use the worst annoying ads. According to the Coalition standards, we removed those annoying ads at the source from a Chrome browser. And just to be clear, our ads and our platforms were not exempt from that filtering. And to me, this is just another example of an area where we all need to do the right thing. We have to resist the temptation of short-term results that mortgage our long-term future. Together, we have the opportunity to take a really big step forward in cleaning up our own act, improving people's experience. And for advertisers and agencies, we know you need to have confidence that when you buy media, it's appropriate for your brand. You need confidence that your ads can be seen by real people, not robots. And you need to be confident in the business value that's being delivered. A little over a year ago, it became clear that our policies and controls on YouTube weren't working. And they weren't working well enough in ensuring every video was appropriate for brands. You know, we made a lot of apologies about that, and we truly know that we didn't deliver fast enough on that. And we took responsibility, and we've taken actions to improve it. And with input from many of our partners, we've undertaken a really broad review of our processes on our platforms and our exchanges, taking a hard look at what should be allowed and what should be allowed for advertising. They're two different things. And what transparency and controls were needed by advertisers. First, we raised the bar on content. We now have thousands of people dedicated to improving enforcement, real people that is, across our platforms and exchanges. In fact, we've now working towards, by the end of this year, 10,000 people who are manual reviewers of content to ensure that our policies are not violated. We added 28 new advertiser policies and 20 new publisher policies, and we're now working with 130 expert groups, NGOs, from all walks of life, organizations and academics, to help us better understand what is inappropriate that even the native individual like ourselves wouldn't necessarily acknowledge is inappropriate. On YouTube, we significantly improved and retrained our machine learning systems as well. And AI is at the heart of this, and it's crucial. Machine learning is at the heart of this. So much so that 98% of our extremist content now is flagged and or taken down immediately before it even gets to a human reviewer. And finally, we're progressing with a number of manual reviews for our Google Preferred program. Google Preferred is the top 5% of all content on YouTube. And by the end of this year, in fact, probably before that, globally, all Google Preferred will be manually reviewed. So in theory, safer than anywhere else. And then secondly, we're giving transparency and controls to advertisers. We've been working closely with key partners to provide third-party verification. We hear this all the time, that that's what's required. In fact, in the UK, YouTube achieved certification in the spring for DTSG, brand safety, by JIC-Webs. It means we comply with industry standards alongside Group M, alongside the Financial Times, both of which you heard speak just earlier. Many of you also asked for third-party reporting options, and this has taken some time as we wanted to ensure we get the solution right. But now we're in global beta tests with IAS, Integral Ad Science, and early stages with Double Verify to provide post-campaign safety verification. And next up, we are beginning to test simpler, more transparent mechanisms and controls, allowing advertisers to build their own sustainable levels of strictness that they want within any one of their own campaigns. And across platforms and exchanges, there's a lot being done and signs of good progress, but we know we've got more to do. This is painting the Severn Bridge, an English expression. You just got to keep going back to it and back to it and back to it. But none of this matters if you don't give fair value fair value for your dollar, your euro, your pound. Whenever I talk to advertisers and agencies, and I do that virtually every week, about their challenges and their needs in digital, measurement finds its way to the center of the discussion. And specifically, the conversation is about the need for common standards-based measurements that they can trust. Again, it's been discussed all day. We strongly believe in the need for measurement standards and offering advertisers choice of using third-party verification and measurement tools. But first, I'm pretty sure most people don't realize we currently maintain over 30 MRC-accredited metrics. Standards like these are really important for the industry, and they provide a common currency for the ecosystem to create increased efficiency throughout. And we know you want more. So we're in the final stages, actually, of auditing some of our work so that an additional 40 MRC-accredited metrics are available. This includes third-party viewability reporting for YouTube by Moat, Integral Ad Science, and Double Verify. We're also continuing to expand our partnership with Nielsen. YouTube's integration with Nielsen for mobile measurement has now expanded to 3 additional countries, both UK, Germany, and France, out of the US. And this year, so far, we have tripled the number of markets where Comscore measures YouTube's reach, bringing that to 13 different countries. And finally, for digital advertising to continue its growth, measurement needs to be straightforward and comparable to other media. Again, how many times have we heard that? The most obvious need is the digital video to be measured alongside comparable TV. Well, many of you will know AGF in Germany, the German association that provides the official TV audience ratings. In a global first, YouTube viewing is now available, being measured by the JIC, by AGF, and will be made available to advertisers and agencies this year. And in fact, in several other markets, we're in quite advanced stages of conversation to be able to have YouTube as part of the industry JICs, where there's an appetite. Sad to say, in our largest market, in the UK, that appetite's not there from the broadcasters. So that's a bit of a stalemate. But we hear you on measurement. We are committed to helping you better plan and assess your digital media and integrate it into your existing standards for supporting and or developing even new ones. And advertising has to work for publishers. The final piece of this puzzle is how we can make digital advertising better for publishers and content owners. You know, we get a lot of criticism that, you know, there's this duopoly of Facebook and Google in the advertising digital world. And yes, whilst we're reasonably large players in the digital world, in the overall advertising market, and I think as Rob Norman may have mentioned even yesterday, there are a lot of other major worldwide players that could disrupt our industry even further. And when it comes to partnering with publishers, we need to help build sustainable, thriving businesses. And we've been doing it for a while. And here in Europe, we established a 150 million euro digital news initiative, the D&I Innovation Fund, which has led to innovations like fact check tags, the AMP, the Accelerated Mobile Pages Code, and recently we announced the Google News Initiative, which is putting an additional commitment of $300 million into an innovative fund for publishers around the world. And we're seeing great momentum with this accelerated mobile pages. You know, speed of loading is essential for get consumers' usage and trust and behavior patterns right. There are now 5 billion accelerated mobile pages across 31 million domains, helping publishers to greatly improve their user experience. And we're in early stages of testing ways that machine learning on DoubleClick can make it easier for publishers to identify their readers that are most likely to subscribe to their content. And these tests are actually having some really positive results so far with Washington Post, Hearst newspapers, and the Financial Times. In fact, we're excited about these initiatives to the point whereby we believe they will pay dividends for our publishing partners over time. And just as we fight advertiser fraud, we need to fight fraud for publishers as well. One type of fraud that's focused heavily on over the last year is domain spoofed inventory. Again, how many times have we heard that over the last 2 days? This type of fraud is basically someone dressing up low quality content, inventory, and remarketing it as well-known quality publishers. It's almost like selling, you know, fake Rolexes. And I'm happy to say that over the past 9 months, we made strong progress against domain spoofed inventory with the IAB's tech-led ads.text standard. You know, a simple, really secure way of publishers to tell advertisers who are authorized to sell their inventory. Around 80% of programmatic inventory across all partners and Google inventory sources is now authorized against ads.txt files. In fact, Google was the first company, I believe, to filter all unauthorized ad inventory based on these files. And we'll soon take this a step further in coming months and give advertisers the option to only buy publishers. I think Financial Times sent that earlier. Any publisher can only buy using x.txt, ads.txt files with us. As a result of these efforts, not only will publishers save, hopefully, win back millions of dollars, but it's a real confidence booster, we believe, amongst buyers, knowing that what they're buying, fun enough, is real. Now, I want to conclude by reflecting back on the Coalition for Better Ads. Consider this, in the space of the last 2 years, we came together for the first time really as an industry, advertisers, agencies, publishers, trade bodies, and developed the Better Ad standards. A really strong step forwards in improving user experiences, and we all need to get behind it. There's still some naysayers out there about Coalition for Better Ads, about the Better Ad standards. You know, what this example tells us is that if the path forward is one that includes mutual goals and working more closely together, if we can get rid of the bad ads, we can change the face of digital platforms and the trust, respect, and monetization, of course. It's one key play that we can play together to improve our business. So to restate where I started, underlying our commitment and our belief of a healthy ads ecosystem, advertising should be transparent. You know what's happening and you're able to make meaningful choices about it. Should be trustworthy. You know what is happening is both real and verifiable, and should provide a fair value exchange for all involved. In my 12 years at Google, I can honestly say that the work that's going on inside the company to get this right has never been more proactive and never worked quite so hard. The communication and the iteration between our engineers, our product teams, our business folk, our marketing folk, and our partners has been extraordinary, but we probably don't always tell you what we're doing, and therefore you perhaps believe we're not doing enough. Our efforts feel like a step change to our commitment to helping make advertising better. They represent a commitment that includes a continuous open dialogue and a partnership with our stakeholders, and they represent a commitment of greater visibility into our priorities and our progress. I hope today gives you some indication that we are taking and making advertising that works for everyone very seriously. And I thank you for staying around. Enjoy the rest of your time in Milan. Thank you.